What's up, guys? It's February 19th. It's almost noon. Had a little break today, so I got away from the house, coding in a new environment, you know, over here with my homie. Here's Jackie. All right, and it's kind of camera shy, but I'm working on some shit right now. Got the Zoom open right here, and working on some API stuff. I do have a bug in the code. I looked it up, but there's not too many solutions for it right now. And I'm making some kind of use server health check right here, so I can know if the server's on. So we do have to set up some zero downtime deployment schedule, but I mean, right now, that's what I need to do. So just getting it done. And I'll see you guys in the next one. And check out this beautiful view. Oh, encoding C++. In this video, I'm going to share with you all the essential things you need to know to become a full-stack junior developer. So what are CRUD apps and why they matter? CRUD apps stand for create, read, update, and delete. They're basically almost every app on the internet because you're actually creating or post to the database or to the server to post to the database, read or get from the database, update something or delete something. You need to create CRUD apps because then you'll really understand how everything works on the internet. You're just working on a really big one database. You just, and you need to save data to share that data. And the internet is basically just communication of information, right? Facebook, it saves data and shows it somewhere else, right? LinkedIn, it saves data, it shows somewhere else. It's everywhere in the world. If I just go to the internet right now and I go to, let's go to LinkedIn. Basically this data is getting shared with me. So you should always start with the back end when you're making an app, because that's going to be, where your security is. That's going to be where you set up everything of what data you're checking out. Sometimes I think about the back end as like a librarian and the database being a library. And basically the client is always asking you, hey, can I have this data from this information? And with that information, you need to go to the database and say, hey, give me all the books that start with A, or whatever it is, right? Back-end first development is always very good. I mean, you can do front-end first, but you set up like your APIs. So I have my API gateway open here. I'm using Molecular. You have your get, which is your read. You have your post, which is your create. And then you have your get, which is a singular. You have get all, and then you have the update, which is a put, and you have a delete, which is a delete. And then if you have any other kind of features, you can get that as well. So definitely you need to know how to authenticate. So a good one that I like to use is Firebase. So right now we're using Firebase to authenticate users, which is just like a backend as a service. They can handle all the passwords, and I don't have to hash passwords and all that kind of stuff. Like in my database, I don't have to save many of it. And then we're using this Google OAuth kind of authorization. So I like to always look at this. So my app requests a token, gets the login consent, gets some authorization code, and then it's exchanged for a token, and you get the token response, and we can call like our token to call the Google API everywhere. So I really like to use this kind of like pattern, and definitely JWT tokens are very good for protecting your server. With our server right now, we're running with Mongo, and I'm using Mongo Express. So this is like the database. This will be more in the future, but this is where I get all my data from. And it's hooked up with some kind of mix-ins from Molecular. Let me see here. I use, let me see, user service. I have my DB mix-in, which is the users here. And then inside of the DB mix-ins, it's using this thing called Molecular DB, but I'm actually using Molecular DB adapter Mongo, and that lets me use something called an adapter in all my code. So if you'll see, like, it has this dot adapter, and this dot adapter is what is actually inserting to the database and things like that. So It's pretty cool. I like to definitely like pagination is super important. You can use offsets and skips. I like to always use MongoDB. There is like some kind of way that you have to do it. You should like sort, then offset, and skip, and then limit, and then that's how you do the pagination. But I like to use molecular DB. The pagination is there already, and it's very good. Definitely, you don't want to just throw all the data from the database that matches to that the person. Like that's going to be like too much data, so you have to give it in chunks. And it's like when you're scrolling on LinkedIn or Instagram, it's not like they send you 1,000, right? It's like when you get close to the bottom, they make another request for you for that next chunk of data. So that's like pagination for large data sets. And definitely like all this backend stuff. I started as a front end developer, but like because I did front end for so long with like Vue.js, React, Svelte, you name it, whatever it is. HTML, CSS, JavaScript with PHP, and because I did front end for so long, I just feel like I moved to back end a couple years ago, a lot of years ago. But anyways, that really helped me because I knew what would be comfortable for the front end, and I consider myself a full stack developer. If you want to learn how to create full scale apps to impress your tech recruiters on your portfolio, please click on the link in the description below and apply for my mentorship. Now that we talked about back end, we should really talk about the front end. The front end has a lot of things to kind of think about as well. Like how I think about it, back end talks to like business logic and the code, right? And now the front end, you're really looking at like marketing, design, and like the code, right? So the engineering. Front end, there's a lot of things to consider. Obviously, like if someone finds your app a little bit uncomfortable, they're probably going to find something else to use. There are things like caching data or saving things in global state management to not pull from the server every time to make things a little bit more snappy, and you don't have to make as many requests. So something like Redux. This is just the beginning, but I'll have a lot of reducers here, or Zeuston, which is another one, or Recoil. I like Recoil, and they're all definitely things that we can all learn, and definitely use my share of like, I think it's flux. It all comes from something like called flux pattern, Redux. Is it flux and Redux? Flux is inspired by flux. So I think everything's inspired by flux, pretty much. Like flux, Mobex, Redux, Mobex, and I think flux is like the original, right? Flux. I just read about it later. And you need to make dynamic UI updates all the time. You know why it's called React? It's because React is it reacts to every single change very easily and re-renders the screen. And a lot of the apps kind of do the same thing, but it is not necessary for everything. Like HTML, CSS, JavaScript is just fine. It's actually could be more. It is more performant for smaller apps, as you don't need to import like huge libraries or anything like that. I think thing with React and Vue and all those kind of things it really helps you work in a team, right? It helps you break down things and break atomicize tasks, and everybody can work on this part, and I could work on this part, and you don't have any conflicts and things like that. And other things you have to like consider when you're doing front end is like a lot of responsive design, and that goes with like just making things very comfortable for the end user, because as soon as someone finds something uncomfortable or something weird, it gets a bad review in the app store or whatever it is. I don't know. You got to make things comfortable, and people are going to want to market things that are like comfortable to use. You want to be proud of what you build, and definitely I think I'm always trying to be proud of what I built. I want to show off to even like my mom, like, hey, I built this and all this kind of stuff. And if you show it off and something breaks, it's not going to be too pleasant of a feeling. Definitely just try to create strong UI, strong front end, strong back end, resilient. Definitely there are like way more advanced things to go into, like, role-based authentication, you're gonna have like super admins, managers, users, and role based like roles for what they can do. Like, oh, I can update this data, but this guy can't update this data, and all this kind of stuff. File uploads, handling blobs, image blobs, and all that kind of stuff could be kind of like scary at first. How does this image like fly across the internet? We don't know, but there's things like base64 or blobs. There are definitely a lot of things that help you handle all that, like S3 bucket and Firebase storage. There's also real-time updates with WebSockets, like in a chat app. That's like a good one, or like a stock chart. And you can also use polling or long polling, and set intervals. And you definitely have things like searching and filtering with like Elasticsearch, like Search, and the search kind of thing where you search in Google Chrome, like visual, and then all these like auto suggestions pop up and things like that. And form validation is something that's always super annoying, but you have to do. And there are definitely libraries to help you with that in the front end. That's going to be like Zod and Reactive Form, which definitely like I like to use, and I hope you like to use. Or if you don't know, definitely just like let me know and I'll teach you. There's a lot of things also like with security and performance, like data sanitization, uh, you know, also like clean code, like API rate limiting. You have to make sure you know, someone can't spam your server or whatever. Where is this? Rate limit. You got to make sure like, the max number of requests during a window. You have to make sure your server is strong and protected. Definitely like authentication strategies. I'm not going to show you mine, but that's some stuff that we have, and caching and lazy loading for performance. Definitely, maybe you want to use Redis or some kind of memory cacher to make sure that it doesn't need to like, it can send the data quicker. Definitely, even if it's the same data. So it doesn't make sense if it's gonna be the same response every single time to keep on hitting the server, or keep on having to hit the server then go to the database and all this kind of stuff. Definitely, there's a lot of things with deployment and scaling. So there's like hosting options with let's say Firebase hosting, or AWS with like Lightsail or EC2 or whatever you choose. There's so many different ways to do it. S3 bucket, CI/CD pipelines like GitHub Actions. I know Travis and Travis used to be super popular back in the day, but definitely like all these kind of like deployment stuff and testing stuff. But like GitHub Actions is pretty good right now, and with mobile apps, there's like Fastlane and all that kind of stuff, and definitely like just logging and learning how to search through your logs and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely have like my logs here. So I have my in my config. I have my logger here, where I here just logging to the console. But right now, if I change it to file, it'll store up some logs, or I'll probably use Pinot or Winston later. Something super small, and then like even in the front end, right? I'm probably going to what I usually do in my apps. I know Crashlytics is pretty good. I'll install that as well, but definitely create my custom logger where I can just use my utils. I have my log here, my logger, and I'm just using React Native logs here. It helps me prefix my logs so I know where it's coming from. And then I just use that with what do I use that with? I use that with my use logger. So I just extend it with the file path when I use it. So wherever I use it, I just it's got like the login screen. Wherever I use it, I just use this use logger, and then the logger equals this, and then it'll always be prefixed. So I know where that log's coming from. And later on, I'm gonna make like an error log or something, so whenever the app crashes from my API client or wherever it does, I'll make a backend place where I can collect all the logs and put them in a TXT file. Again, I teach my mentees all of this, starting from HTML, CSS, JavaScript to creating full-scale applications with React, Node.js, and MongoDB, all the way to deployment. If you want to learn directly from me, please apply for my mentorship from the link in the description below. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and most importantly, I hope you realize that no-code solutions won't get you very far. But rather, programmers are still a necessity in this age of AI. And remember, if I can do it, you can do it too. Coding saves lives.